Thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here too and to pass on a little bit of my knowledge and what we do. So my name is Liz Andersen, and I'm from the agency TWCA. It stands for the Web Content Agency. And today I'll tell you a little bit about how we can find relevant keywords for your content and how to optimize your copy, hopefully effectively. Before I begin, if I go too fast, please, someone can certainly, yell or put something up in the chat. And if you have a question, I'm happy to answer either during the presentation or of course at the end as well, if we have a bit of time. So I'm happy to talk. I like talking, I like listening, so feel free to ask. So we were founded in 2008 by a woman named Anna Keinberger, and I've been working with her since, I think, 2000. I was looking through my emails, I think it's been since 2011. And time goes very, very quickly. And she is actually very pregnant with twins at the moment, so that's why I'm happy to be here with you today and sort of taking care of her business baby, if you will. And we really take care of all online copywriting needs. That includes writing things from scratch, also editing and reworking pieces that clients may have written themselves. And I mentioned before that we also offer SEO translations and different languages. Today, I'm going to try my best to keep this as language neutral as possible. I could talk all day about SEO translations, but I'm going to try to keep that to a minimum today, just for the sake of time. We also write a lot of blogs and newsletters, and I've included our website here and at the end in case you're interested. So when we talk about web copy or SEO copy, the really interesting thing is that we have to keep in mind we're writing really for two audiences. It has to be readable and appealing to people and also for search engines. And this kind of adds a little challenge sometimes. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about the different languages, but no matter the language, whether you're writing copy from scratch or editing or doing a translation, keywords are absolutely integral in SEO copy, no matter the language. So as I mentioned, we really have two audiences that we have to write for. The human audience, the reader, the person who's coming to your website. And what are we looking for? We're looking for information. We're looking to solve a problem. We need emotion. We need to be told what to do, calls to action. On the other hand, a computer, they really only understand these values, these keywords. And one interesting thing is these backlinks and internal links are good for both humans and computers. And of course, high quality content is going to make everybody happy. I think that goes without saying, though. So I'd like to begin with the person, right? The human audience. And here you're really looking to write for the people who are visiting your website or who want to buy your products, who want to book something with you. And it's really important to put yourself in their shoes. I think one thing a lot of people forget or maybe don't consider is that you know what you're talking about. When it's your website or when you're working with the client, you're very involved. And sometimes you have to kind of step out of your own shoes and put yourself into your target audience's shoes. And imagine when I go on Google, what am I going to search for? What am I interested in? What am I looking for? And these are all things that you should definitely speak to your clients. If you work in an agency, this is something your clients can definitely help with, which we'll get to in just a moment. And for me personally, it's quite a fun, this is a fun step of my work, is to kind of open your mind to think in a different way. As I mentioned, I don't want to go too much into different languages, but just a quick word on this. People from different places have different interests. They need different things. For example, if someone from Germany is coming to Austria, perhaps they're coming for skiing, or they want après-ski. Maybe a family from the UK, not so interested in après-ski, but they want to go skiing, they're looking for a family hotel, and so on. Just something to keep in mind. If there's questions about this, we can definitely come back to it, but for now, I'm going to just skip through. So our second target group is a search engine. And of course, typically we're going to talk about Google. And we're going to keep it quite general today for the sake of time. And I'm going to focus mostly on Google, but of course there's other websites as well. There's other search engines as well that we can consider. And I think it's safe to say that we all use Google. But my question is, what does Google do? How does it work? I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I'm not a technical expert. But basically, their web crawlers go out, they visit a website at regular intervals, checking to see what's new, checking to see what's out there. And the newest version of the website will then be saved, it will be indexed. And then later, the website will be ranked as more relevant, less relevant than other sites. This is, of course, very, very basic. I am absolutely not an expert in the inner workings of Google. But I think it's still important just to mention this here. And of course, we can use search engine optimization to increase our chances that our website will rank higher when it is ranked by Google. So search engines really understand values. Emotion, beautifully written text, doesn't matter. They're really looking for these values in the form of keywords. We'll come to keywords in just a moment. We're talking about links, site titles, and meta descriptions, which are very important and which we'll come to in the second half of my presentation. And also descriptions of pictures, videos, really anything that can be described with text. One thing that's sort of interesting to note, these search engines, they'll more often visit sites that are regularly updated, and also websites where the content will increase, which is an interesting thing when we think about blogs. Blogs will always produce new content. It will keep it up to date. And of course, yeah, it kind of helps our chances as well. Okay, I've talked a lot about keywords so far. I'm really happy to open up and ask you any ideas. What are keywords exactly? What are keywords exactly? Keywords are actually the terms that your target group is going to search for, right? These are the things where when you go onto Google and you search for something, that's what people are looking for. We see them in semantics, right? How do I call what I'm looking for? And Google will, of course, see these as values. Whoops. Perfect. So earlier I talked about our target group of humans, or the people, the reader, and a target group briefing and SEO measures really are critical for one another. They're very, very important for one another. We need to know, what do our customers call what they're looking for? In Austria, tourism is a giant industry, so I'll use a tourism example here. Are our customers calling the hotel a kid-friendly hotel, or a family-friendly hotel, or a child-family hotel? We want to know, what are our customers actually calling these things? Another thing we think about is, what do they look for when they want to find a website? Right? Are they looking for something specific? Are they looking for a hotel with a pool, hotel with indoor pool, hotel with babysitting? What type of problems are these customers trying to solve? Right? And also, what are the top keywords for our products and services. In other words, what do we think our things are called, and do they match up with what people are searching for? I have kind of a funny example from my point here where I wrote, names developed for marketing purposes have disadvantages over normal names, but both should be included. What does this mean? I have a silly example, but here I've got a nail polish. Here I've got a nail polish from a very, very popular brand. And if you look at the nail polish, it's nothing special. It's a light pink, perhaps pale pink, right? A normal name, it's light pink, baby pink, pale pink nail polish. And the name developed by the company is actually called ballet slippers. I don't know if you can read that, if it's too small, but ballet slippers. And this is actually one of the highest selling nail polishes, I think, in the world. I think it's been out since 1982. So in some cases, a name like ballet slippers is not particularly advantageous from a keyword perspective. Even though many, many people know this and many, many people use it. Perhaps when we're finished, I can switch over and show you the Google search for this particular nail polish. And you'll see that in their description, they're actually using words like pale pink, light pink, as well as the name brand product itself. Hence, both should be included. Both are important. I hope that didn't make me sound too vapid or sound too silly, but I think it was a pretty good example. So what we have to do is, once we've kind of done this briefing and figured out what are our customers looking for, we're going to have to choose the keywords that have a higher search volume. In other words, the keywords that many people are looking for, right? Keywords that people are interested in, as well as determine these niche keywords like the name of the nail polish specifically. And we can also use various analysis tools to find what keywords have brought us customers in the past. What are some keywords that rank other companies, our competitors, well, but also which ones sort of separate us from our competition, which ones make us stand out. So like with any project, our first step is brainstorming. If we have a website already, we can take a look, discuss the target audience with our clients. Oftentimes we use a questionnaire with some very, sort of starting off with very broad questions, moving to more specific questions, trying to pull out as much information from our customers as we can. Again, when we look at translations, we look at the international clientele, what's going to be relevant for them, and we collect the ideas that could work. I'm going to skip over this slide just because it's about translations. We can certainly discuss it a little bit later too. I mentioned that we can use some different tools. Has anyone used, I'm sure that people have used these, namely Google Suggest. I think Google Suggest is something that, that we've all used before. Basically, with Google Suggest, you open the Google tab, start entering a term, and see what suggestions Google pops out. This is a good place to start, especially if perhaps when we have a sort of a general topic where we have a lot of room to be creative. It's a really nice way to start and just to kind of see what's out there, see what could be interesting. And if they're interesting for us, maybe we can use them, take note, put them down. One important thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning is when we're talking about keywords and searching, it's really important to disable your Google search history. And it's also important to log out of any accounts that you might have. One reason is, everybody's search history and everyone's search profile is very specific and very different. And so we kind of want to start from scratch. We want to start fresh in the best case. So that's a good tip. Yes. And so here, just a simple screenshot of how Google Suggest works. And I think we've all played around with this before too. The next tool that we can use, that we often use, is Google Ads. We use the Keyword Planner tool. I don't want to go into too much detail here because this is only available with an account or perhaps a subscription. It is a great tool, I will admit, but there's also free tools that you can use, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. Yes. If you do end up getting a Google Ads account, or if you do have one, it's really great. We can kind of see our search volume from the past. We can see which keywords have been popular in the past year, 2 years, 3 years. Actually, that's an interesting point. When we talk about Corona in the past year or so, we actually did a keyword research project for, without going into too much detail, for a company related with that has to do with tourism. And when we were doing the keyword research with the Google Ads tool, we were looking at the past 12 months, which is typical for us, but we were looking and we were thinking, this is, the results are miserable. It was a lot of zero searches. Nothing was really getting the volume. In other words, nothing was really interesting for anyone. And we thought, what could that be? As soon as we pushed it back to 2 years or the past 3 years, of course, the searches went way up. And it was, of course, something that we should have considered. But it took that moment to see the results, to see how many people were not searching for something, to think about, okay, let's go back to a normal time, and also to compare it with the time now. Yeah. When you use this tool, you can definitely save all of your keyword ideas. It's quite fun to kind of see what people are searching for. Download them, save them, send them off to the client for their opinion, for their okay. A free tool that I often like to use as well is Google Trends. I'm not sure if anyone has used Google Trends before, but this one is very interesting if we have 2 keywords that are very close, that are very similar, and where we want to see, is there a difference? Will one bring us more customers? Does one have an advantage over the other? And here we can really compare by region, compare by country. And if there's time, I would like to show you an example when we're finished. It's kind of a neat tool. Good. Okay, so now we've got our keywords. They've been signed off by the client. And now it's time to use them. How do we use them? The first thing that we typically do is we have a look at site titles and meta descriptions. A site title is basically the title that will appear when we Google something. Here we go. If you take a look right here, TWCA, Textagentur für den Online-Bereich, that is our site title. It's what people will typically click on. It's the link to take us where we want to go. Ideally, this will be 55 characters long, so it's not very long. Can go up to 60. And a meta description is basically 1 or 2 sentences of what will be on the website when I visit it. This one's a bit longer, 148 characters long, and we'll come to that in just a moment. Perfect. Good. The one interesting thing about a site title that is absolutely very, very, very relevant for SEO is that your main keyword or your keyword phrase will go at the beginning. And then the company name will typically go at the end. Keep it short, keep it simple, no jargon, just make it nice and appealing for people to click on it, right? This is what's going to get the most clicks when people search for you. Here, for example, if we look at the second example, you'll see Textagentur, speziell für Online-Texte, TWCA. So we have our main keyword, Textagentur, at the beginning, and our company name at the end. So now let's move to the meta description, which is just below. And again, we've got keywords, keyword phrases, ones or perhaps a mix of them. And this is a nice, short, sweet description of the page. What will I find here? And again, keep it simple, no jargon, nice and easy. And this is about 148 characters long. There are websites out there where you can enter your ideas for your site title and meta description, and it will show you basically how it will look displayed on Google. And if it's too long, too short, it will help you with that as well. Perfect. All right, so now let's move to your web copy. In other words, what people will actually be seeing when they visit your website. Also very, very important. Yes, in this case, we need to use H1, H2, H3, so basically headers. And in these headers, we need to include keywords as well. These are actually very important for Google rankings, just like the site title and the meta description. These are also, you get a lot of bang for your buck, if you'll let me use a little bit of jargon. With your H1 will be your large heading at the top, and this absolutely must include your main keyword for the page. Keywords and keyword phrases should also be integrated in the body text. And you can also really keep semantics in mind. In other words, child family hotel, child family hotels, right? One of the most beautiful family-friendly hotels in Austria, or hotel for family. You can use variations as well. One thing that's sort of interesting is that people read differently online than they do print text. Oftentimes we only really skim or scan, and so you want to make sure that what you're writing is sort of short and powerful. People aren't going to spend lots and lots of time reading your websites. Lists are wonderful, also with keywords included in the lists. Also different paragraphs, these different headings, all of these will make it a little bit more appealing for people to read your website. And the last point, definitely use target group oriented keywords and a call to action at the end. The thing is, I think a call to action is at the end, contact us, feel free to give us a call, send us an email. We look forward to hearing from you with the link. Over my experience, I've seen that people sometimes don't like to include these. I think some people think that they're being too pushy. Some people think that it's too much. In this case, though, it is not. Your website has to speak for you, right? Your website has to speak for you, and you have to make it easy for your customers, for your readers to get in touch with you. And that's very important. Perfect. So many customers ask how many words per page they should write. Typically, we suggest 250 to 300. It's not too long, not too short. But some people also prefer very long text up to 1,000 words. The thing is, I think it also depends on how much content your competitors have online. But 250 to 300 is about what we suggest and what we typically do. Yes, as I mentioned before, people read online text differently than they do print. Things like lists and titles, little blurbs are always very helpful. Of course, make it easy to read. You don't want your customers having a hard time reading your site. Use things like bold, And also don't forget your call to action. Perfect. I think I'm running out of time. I'm just going to mention one quick thing. URLs are also very important. You can include keywords in your URLs. They make your website look a little nicer. And the one point I would like to just quickly mention, this third point, if someone links to your page using only your URL, then your keyword, your main keyword for the site will also appear in the link text. I'm going to skip over this for time and this too, but let's just do a quick recap how to do web content. Number one, start with your target group. Discuss that with your client, brainstorm, determine what should go on your website. You can Google the topics of your website to get some ideas and also conduct your keyword research using one of the tools that we discussed before. We need to write our URL and do our on-page optimization. In other words, your site title and your meta description. The body text, your call to action. And if you're working with another client, they have to approve really each piece of copy. Everything's entered into the CMS. Choose your photos and optimize your captions, and then add the finishing touches. That was everything in a very, very short nutshell. I hope it was halfway understandable and halfway interesting. And thank you very much for your attention. And I'm happy to answer any questions, perhaps afterwards or after Irene's presentation, if there's time. I'm happy to